Okay, so today I'm going to talk a little bit about how technology is changing the way we do business, it's changing the business environment. But I think it's always good to start with a story. And these are my nieces up here. And the girl on the left, I suppose, as you look at it, a girl called Eliza, she's 10. So she called me, I had a video chat with her on the train on the way down here. So I recently sent her a Kano computer. I don't know if anyone here knows what that is, but it's a computer that kids can build themselves. And they can do very, very simple programming. So she had just kind of completed her first exercise from a programming perspective. And she's all excited and she wanted to tell me about it. So we were video chatting, pulled into the station and like, thank you very much. She said, good luck. And I said, I'll talk to you afterwards. So I step off and I come into Oxford. And then I start thinking back to when I studied here in the late 90s. And we were in the back of a hospital. Ironic for a business school, but we were in the back of a hospital. Anyway, back then, the height of mobile technology was a pager. And I'm pretty sure, I can't see, the lights are blocking me here, but I'm pretty sure most people here have not used a pager in their lifetime. So this idea that you call a call center, you leave a message for a friend, it gets sent to the pager, they read the pager, and then they call you back. And that's like 15 years ago. It's not that long time ago. So technology has moved on. The future technology is coming with us. Who knows what this is? Hands up. Wow, okay. I really am getting old. So this is the console from the Back to the Future movie series. And if you haven't seen it, it's really good. Okay, there's 3 movies. Please watch it. Okay. So in the second one, they go to the future, right? It's 1989. They go all the way to 2015. Okay? This is actually from the movie, all right? 2015. So where we are today. And there was some kind of cool futuristic technology in that movie, which I thought we'd just have a quick look at. Hoverboards. Okay? Never happened, right? This is a company called the Hendo Hoverboard. This exists, funded on Kickstarter. And the gentleman standing on the board behind me is a guy called Tony Hawks. And according to my nephew, he's really famous. But I have no idea who he is. So hoverboards exist. They were right in that one. They also predicted we'd have video phone glasses. So we'd no longer use kind of these things on the desk or what we talk about mobile phones. So that's never going to happen, right? So Google Glass and other companies have come out with something similar. And this actually, when you do watch the movie, and please do, this gentleman here is one of the main characters in it. So it's kind of a fun movie. Please watch it. So the future technology is with us here today. And that's I'm going to take that on now and talk a little bit more about that. So there's kind of 4 areas that I want to cover. The first is technology, how it's accelerating and changing. 2, how consumers are adopting that technology and how it's changing the way they interact with companies. 3, how the businesses, the business models, business economics, how that's changing and how companies need to adapt to that to be successful. And finally, what you can do and why you should care. So let's dive into some of the businesses. So technology is creating new business models. So now your mobile phone is no longer just a mobile phone or a video phone, as I found out today. It's also a payment provider. Okay, this company here, it's a startup, Square, they allow you to use your mobile phone, so startup companies can kind of, using a mobile phone attachment, can scan credit cards and be up and running very quickly. 2, Spotify and companies like it, data storage now has become so cheap. It's now practical to have all the world's music or almost all the world's music available to you through your mobile phone, through your tablet. But basically, that has changed how a whole industry monetizes their products. And we've seen the high street, the HMVs, the Virgins struggling now with hardware like DVDs, CDs. These things just really aren't being sold anymore. Everyone's got everything on their iPod and their phone. So it's completely changed the way that business has been run. 3rd, thanks to geolocation in your phones, you now can all book taxis. You share your location with your friends. So this has totally disrupted the taxi market. And for any of you who live in London or travel to London, the black cab drivers, they are really struggling with this now. A lot of protest, and they're kind of trying to fight technology rather than maybe adapting to it and getting and kind of working with Uber rather than working against them. So technology has given us new entrepreneurs. This is a lady called Michelle Phan. I'd never heard of her before I did this presentation. I'm not good with makeup, but I'm sure some people here have. So she, 7 years ago, went on YouTube and put a video up of herself, making herself up for going out for a night out. And in 1 week, she had 45,000 hits. So she thought, hold on a second, maybe people do want to kind of listen to me or see what I'm doing here. So she started her own channel. She now has 6.5 million subscribers to her channel. And this is her business. So her business was born on the web. Okay, this was not possible before. New markets. This is the Cambridge Satchel Company. This lady started this company. She was building these bags on her kitchen table to supplement the school fees of her kids. And now, 8 years later, it's 13 million in sales and exporting to 20 countries. So it's a global company. And that just wasn't possible without the internet. So I think we can say that new markets have been created by technology. So kind of wrapping up how things affect business, we talk about the sharing economy. Another show of hands. How many people here have used Airbnb? Yeah, a lot more than seen Back to the Future anyway. So Airbnb, this is the sharing economy. This is the idea that everyone can be a landlord, right? You're not staying in your place. You go on holidays, rent out your room, maybe pay for your holiday. Everyone can be a taxi driver. Companies like Lyft, your long drive up to Edinburgh, share your car, share the cost of that. And everyone can be, a freelancer because through apps like TaskRabbit, if you've got some skills, and I'm sure all of you do, if you've got some skills, you can put those out to rent on the internet. So this kind of sharing economy, again, has totally disrupted things. And unless the kind of incumbent businesses start thinking big, thinking beyond what they're doing now, there will be someone who'll come along and focus on a niche like these companies and kind of eat their breakfast, as they say. So let's talk a little bit now about the people side of things and specifically some technology trends that are really driving change here. So the first one, and we heard in the last presentation about a mobile app, which hopefully it's going to come to fruition and we'll be able to all use it to help kind of with the deforestation, saving the forest. I'm sure I've got that all wrong, but I apologize. But what I want to draw your attention to here is that there's more people who have access to mobile phones than have access to sanitation. Right now, it's probably not a surprise. It's infrastructure involved in building sanitary facilities around the world cost a lot of money, take a lot of time, rather than just having a mobile phone and having cellular signal and be able to use it. But interestingly, of the 7 billion people, by the end of this year, 2 billion of us are going to have smartphones. Now that really starts to change the game. Okay, so when you have a smartphone, that's like a supercomputer in your pocket. And big companies now, previously where you had to be worried about your neighbor or maybe the country or the continent or us Europeans worrying about what's coming out of America or maybe the developed part of Asia. Now, where's the next entrepreneur coming from? With a smartphone, they can be coming from anywhere. And when you advance that and you start using tablets, and tablets, by the way, are kind of outpacing PC sales now as well. When you start accessing a tablet, now you can get into coding. So this is really kind of democratizing how people access and use technology. And it's possibly one of the most disruptive trends out there at the moment, the use of mobile. So this little fella here, I wish in an ideal world I'd be able to put a picture of my own son up there, but I don't have kids, so I've taken a stock photo. But the point I'm trying to make here is that the millennials, which I think most of you would probably fall into this category, were born on the web. Most of you probably don't even remember a time when we didn't have access to the web. And that is kind of changing how these people interact with each other, but also with how they look at their companies. Okay, so I put a little stat up there, and I think it's indicative because the 28% of the 3 or 4-year-olds that have been interacting with tablets, they can't read, they can't write, but they can play games on a tablet. And these people are the people in 10, 15 years' time who are going to be coming into these universities and absolutely totally changing how we, when I get my old age, but how we perceive business. So it's not just people who are getting digitally mature at a younger age. Companies are also getting younger. So 60 years ago, the Standard & Poor's, the average age of a company in the Standard & Poor's was 75 years. These were traditional brick and mortar companies, manufacturing companies, really, really slow to change. But fast forward to now, and to 2013, 2015, the average age of a company in the S&P 500 is 10 years. So the companies have, the type of companies are changing as well. And this, is a concern for all companies, because the simple fact here is it's like disrupt or be disrupted. In 10 years' time, probably half of the companies on this indices will be gone. Okay, and which are the half that will be left? These will be the ones that have done something special, done something that's going to make you want to work there, make you want to buy their products. And this is, again, driven totally by technology. Okay, bricks and mortars, silos, it's all gone. So why should they care, right? So what? Well, it turns out that the companies that adopt technology and that are considered digitally mature, these are some results from an MIT Sloan study, they are producing more profits, more revenue, and more shareholder value. So this is sort of 400 companies. They ranked them into levels of digital maturity, and the digital mature companies performed this much better than their peers. So it matters. It pays. It's risky, but it pays. And what does it mean then? What does digitally mature mean, or what does a digital business mean? Well, this is one way of summarizing it. One way I would summarize it, I'm sure there's others, and maybe it's controversial. It's when you take a digital brand, which is how companies perceive, how companies are perceived by their consumers, and you combine that with a digital culture, which is how employees in those companies live and breathe the values and how they use technology with those values. So it's kind of like the sharing economy, if you like. You combine those things together, you get this right, you get a digital business. And if I was going to ask you to remember one thing from my presentation today, besides going to watch Back to the Future, it's this equation here, okay? Because this is really, you can challenge maybe some tenets of it, but I think companies, successful companies of the future, this is what they're living. And this, as what I do as a job, is try to help companies understand this and help them be more transformative. Any company can transform. So some of the things that these digital companies do that are different from other companies, and it's not dance in a room like this. What they do is, well, I'm going to pick out a couple of things. One, they work in small teams. And why are small teams important? Well, small teams are important because small teams can experiment, they can fail, they can retest, fail again, and retest until they have something without disrupting how a company works. And when they have something, they can move very, very fast and have success in the market, a bit like the entrepreneurs that I kind of highlighted early on. Default to open. So what does default to open mean? This means share everything. We're all using Facebook. Well, maybe not all, but we're using Facebook. We're using Snapchat, Instagram. We're sharing everything. We're social in our private lives, and you have to be almost social in your business life as well. But the fact is that most companies are not set up to share information. Okay? Most companies are set up that data is power, information is power. And the more senior you get, the more access to data you get. And the kind of the companies that have been born on the web, Facebook, LinkedIn, Salesforce, Google, these sorts of companies, the default here is to open everything up internally. And there's a kind of a trust, right? We'll show you everything, but you don't share it outside. And that sort of mentality is really hard. The hardest thing I have when I'm working with the customers that I work with, the hardest thing I have is this idea that share everything. It'll make your employees more productive. It'll make them trust you more. It'll make them want to work with you more. So openness, key thought here. And actually, the final thing about this is, and the reason why you want to be open is because ideas come from anywhere. Last week, I'm presenting this project I'm working on. Not this, but the project I'm working on. And an intern called me out. This guy's in the company 3 months, and he's calling me out on something my team had been working on for about a year and a half now. And he called out, and he's like, yeah, that's wrong. And you're kind of thinking, really? What can this guy know? But I was like, well, okay, talk me through, whiteboard here why you think that's an issue. And the kid was right. 3 months in the company, the kid was right. And if I think back to when I first started working, my first job was in a Japanese company in Osaka. And I'm this like 21-year-old Irish guy, get over to Osaka. When I got to the company, this idea of questioning and challenging, it just didn't exist. You did not talk to you. It was speak or be spoken to. You never challenged upwards. And then I kind of fast forward and I've got this kind of 19, 20-year-old intern calling me out. But he was right this time. I'll get him back. So, kind of wrapping up a little bit now, everything comes down to the people in the end, right? So and the reason why we're all studying here, or why you're studying here or in Cambridge, or wherever you've studied, is to kind of get this knowledge, right? To improve yourself. Well, the type of people I think that make the biggest difference are what we've, in Eric Schmidt's book, he calls smart creatives. So this is the idea that you have business acumen, some technical skills, provided with the right tools and creative environment, do amazing things. And I think all the companies that you're familiar with over the last 5 to 10 years, all the apps that you're using over the last 5 years or so, they've all come from companies with people, driven by people like this. So kind of getting towards the end now, the other thing I'd say is think big, all right? All these kind of products and companies here have come out of small teams with people not thinking how I can make things a little bit better, but how I can make things 10 times better. And that sounds ridiculous, right? If you're a big established company, why would you want to risk everything? Well, this comes back to the whole idea of small teams. Because if a small team is risking everything, it's really not risking that much, right? And it's only going to percolate to the top when they've really got something. But think big. Don't think small. Don't think 10%. Think 10x. And finally, kind of summing up now, why should you care? Okay? Well, the biggest risk that you have in your careers when you go into companies, if you're in a company now, the biggest risk is not taking any risk at all. So 10 years ago, Nokia, dominant phone, there's that word again I shouldn't be using. BlackBerry, the default phone for the business world. And now everyone wants their smartphones. And as much as BlackBerry and Nokia are trying to catch up, they're now single-digit market share. It's Apple, it's Android, it's Sony, it's the phones that you want to use in your social life. You want to have those now in your business life. So these products are becoming irrelevant. So think the biggest risk for everyone here is not taking a risk in both kind of professional and personal life. And finally, the last thing I want to leave you with is kind of these 3 points, which is digital first, okay? Embrace talent. You're all very, very talented, and I'm sure that talent manifests itself in different ways, but we've all got talent, right? But embrace talent, work with the best people, hire the best people, challenge yourself. And finally, move at the speed of your consumer, because if you don't, someone else will. And it's the classic disrupt or be disrupted. That's it. Thank you.